Welcome to Chris Drabble's stream of Subconsciousness, episode V. V being Roman for probably more than I should have made. Some people say quit while you're ahead, but I'm more than just a head. I'm a whole body too, so I'll keep going. Thanks.
SOS.
What are you saying that for? What's happened?
No, it means stream of subconsciousness.
Clever.
By Chris Drabble.
That's me.
Produced by Grant.
Probably didn't need to mention him.
Just let me do the song.
Fine. Might throw in a harmony.
This is SOS. Chris Drabble stream of subconsciousness.
There's been a lot happening in the news as of late, so I'll ignore that. I'm not here to discuss major events or current events. I'll leave that to Mike Roberts. What I'm interested in is the smaller things in life. And I don't mean midgets, although they are a worthy discussion point. I'm talking about the things that you may deem less important in life. I believe it was Tom DeLonge of Blink-182 who once wrote, "All the small things, truth care, truth brings. I'll take one lift, your ride, best trip. Always I know you'll be at my show, watching, waiting, commiserating." I don't know what all that means. It seemed relevant because it started off with all the small things, but it went off track a wee bit there. I'm just reading it directly off the screen. I've just googled all the small things lyrics because I thought it would be relevant, but it's not entirely relevant, is it, Grant? That's okay. This show does go off on tangents. We like to explore different directions because that's how you discover. Just imagine if Coupe, the great explorer, had never made that decision to go off and explore. Where would we be right now? Well, we'd be floating in the ocean because New Zealand wouldn't have been invented. That's assuming that Coupe was the founder of New Zealand. According to Māori mythology, he is. I'm looking on Wikipedia, but I'm not sure how credible this source is because it also says that he overcame many monsters and sea demons on his way here. Seems a bit far-fetched. Might have been the odd wave or two. It doesn't really go into detail about how he overcame them. With his paddle, I'd assume. Nevertheless, my point is, good things come to those who explore. Some people say good things come to those who wait. So I guess you could do either, and you're guaranteed a bargain. Sit around, wait a bit, good things will come. Get out there, get stuck into it, good things will come. That's my philosophy anyway. Although, actually, I have just adopted a new philosophy because I found out the other day that loans which you accumulate during your life, especially student loan, don't get passed on to the next of kin when you die. Oh, I thought that anything you had outstanding, any money still owing, would get passed on to a family member, but apparently that's not the case. So I've adopted this new philosophy. It's along the lines of tick up lots of shit, then die. It may just be the student loan, which applies here, which gets wiped. But that's all right. You could spend your whole life at university accumulating a student loan through the roof and then just die. It probably defeats the purpose somewhat of educating yourself for a lifetime if you're not actually giving yourself the opportunity to put it into practice. Plus, a life as a student probably isn't all that attractive to most, living off next to nothing. I like the way students always argue over who's in the most dismal financial situation. You get one person saying, well, I've got a maxed out $2,000 overdraft and a credit card and my student loan is this much. And then you get someone else saying, that's nothing, mate. I've got a $5,000 overdraft, 3 credit cards, I can't even afford rent, I'm being evicted next week. Everyone goes, yeah, whew, that guy wins, his life is shit. But that's what it's like sometimes, being a student. But it's almost like students take pride in how rough they do it. How much did you live off a week, Grant, when you were a student? Yeah, so that's still not much, is it? And you had a job too, didn't you? Where was that? Oh, KFC. I didn't know that. So you were the prick who always stuffed up my order. It's just that every time I went there, it seems that it's common protocol for them to screw up the order. Yeah, it serves me right anyway for eating at a place like that. You pull up to the drive-thru window and the order inevitably plays out something like this. Hi there, I'd like a bucket containing far more chicken than is actually humanly possible to consume. I'd like 4 large sides, please, that I will inevitably end up throwing out my car window. And I'd like you to overcharge me for all that, please. Certainly, sir. And as an added bonus, we'll screw up your order and throw in severe long-term health effects like diabetes and obesity. Oh, no thanks, I don't actually want them. They're not optional, sir. Cheers. So that's how it generally plays out at most fast food outlets, actually, not just KFC. So just stay away from fast food altogether, really. Just look at what happened to Morgan Spurlock, who ate nothing but McDonald's for a month. Actually, he got rich and famous, didn't he? So that's probably not the best example to use. It's amazing how he must have just had this idea one day. I know, I'm going to eat nothing but McDonald's for a month. Do you want to film it? Yeah, may as well. Next minute, you're a celebrity. A lot of people say, shoot for the moon. And if you miss, you'll land among the stars. I mean, people who say that obviously have no astronomical knowledge. But it has some sort of value to it, I suppose. Morgan Spurlock has shot for the moon with that movie, and he's successfully landed, metaphorically. But I guess the idea is that even had he not been successful with that film, he still would have been severely ill. So I suppose that's metaphorically landing among the stars, is it? I don't know. I mean, the whole saying is a bit silly because stars are much further away than the moon. So if you do miss the moon, you're going to just sort of fall into nothingness, not really land amongst the stars. I guess shoot for the moon, and if you miss, make sure that you've filled up with enough fuel to take you to the stars would be the appropriate adaptation. I guess that doesn't ring with the same philosophical value as the former. What do philosophers actually do? I'm still trying to work that out. Because I'm studying philosophy at school at the moment. But is it like you get a degree in philosophy, then you become a philosopher? I don't know. You mean you never meet philosophers these days? You're not standing at the bar and you say, oh, g'day, you're like, what do you do? Oh, I'm a teacher. What do you do? Oh, I'm a philosopher. It would be interesting if that were to happen. I'd ask them a range of questions. So how does that work? Oh, I just sort of sit around and think and that. Well, I mean, are you on a wage? Can you make a living from that? Oh, $30 an hour. It's not bad. How would philosophers get paid? How did they make their money? Was it like maybe they're on commission and they get paid according to what they achieve? But then again, what can you achieve as a philosopher? Just coming up with sweet quotes, I guess. That's all we really hear of famous philosophers, especially ancient Greek philosophers, Aristotle, Plato, Socrates. I mean, you know them from what they've said. It's like, who was Aristotle again? The guy who said, all men by nature desire knowledge. Is that all he did? Just said that? Maybe they got paid for every quote that they devised then. If that were the case, then I guess Aristotle would have started coming up with some really mediocre quotes just to get a bit of money rolling in. He have his boss come in and say, all right, mate, have you got this week's quote? Yep. What was it again? It was, you can't buy happiness. And now give me some money for that one. Wait a minute. Wasn't your last week's quote, all paid jobs absorb and degrade the mind? Yeah. Didn't really mean it.
if philosophy did function in that way, so you get paid by commission for the various quotes that you come up with, then I may well choose to take a path in philosophy because I feel like I could impart some wisdom as a result of the various life lessons that I've learned. One of which, and possibly the one I've found most useful, is to never say sorry after sex. Because what's done is done. If you apologise for your poor performance, then you're only making the whole situation even more embarrassing. So avoid saying sorry after sex. I'll get my apologies out of the way before I begin. That way they know that what they're about to get into is probably going to be disappointing. And there are many other words of wisdom I could impart. Things that you just don't learn in school. I think that the only thing I ever learned, in primary school at least, was the life cycle of a frog. They really seem to stretch that material out. So year 1 you learned about the egg stage. Year 2 you move on to tadpole. Year 3 you step up and learn about the frog. And that leaves year 4, 5 and 6 with not much to cover really. So at that stage you move on to the life cycle of a monarch butterfly. Throw in a few small ball skills in there. And that about covers primary school education, really. So you're hardly acquiring life lessons, so to speak. Grant, was that your phone ringing? You shouldn't be taking calls while we're on air, mate. Oh, it's just the sound of your phone dying, is it? Oh, that's quite a pleasant way of dying. Imagine if humans emitted that joyous tone as they cucked it. It'd be quite amusing, wouldn't it? It'd certainly take the edge off. Hey, why don't you play that tone again, and we'll do a bit of off-the-cuff roleplay. I'll pretend that I'm someone on their deathbed saying their dying words, and you use the tone in a comical way. Okay? I'm afraid I'm not going to make it, kids. Just remember one thing. If you're having sex, never apologise afterwards. Go, Grant. 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 Do the bell. Grant. Duh. You meant to do the bell there, Grant. The gag doesn't work without it. Okay, let's try again. I don't think I'm gonna make it, kids. Just remember one thing. If you're having sex... Never mind. Grant, you meant to do it at the end. One simple gag and you can't complete it. Honestly, why are you still my producer? I don't know. Give me your phone, I'll do the gag myself. Come on, hand it over. Bloody incompetent. Alright, last time. This is how the gag's supposed to go. Probably lost all its humour by now. Anyway. I don't think I'm gonna make it, kids. Just remember one thing. If you're having sex, never apologise afterwards. Phone's not working. Oh, it's dead. Well, there goes that gag. Thanks, Grant, for ruining our chances on that to produce some humour. Never mind. Plenty more to come. Roughly 5 minutes, actually. And this is, in fact, the penultimate episode of Chris Drabble's stream of Subconsciousness. Meaning there's only one more episode to come after this. For those of you who don't know the definition of penultimate. That's you, I assume, Grant. You fucking moron. So, I'm sure there's plenty of other issues left to discuss before time is up. Now that's something that you never really hear your doctor say to you, isn't it? Because usually when you're dealing with, say, a customer service representative, for example, if you're at the bank and you've done your transaction and they say, "Is there anything else I can help you with, sir or ma'am?" To which you'd reply, "God, is it that hard to decipher my gender?" But if you weren't making a joke, you'd probably just say, "No thanks, that's all." However, at the doctor, you can talk about your main issue and then that's it. They don't want to be giving out any advice for anything more than your primary issue with which you entered the room. Now, if a doctor did say to me, "And is there anything else I can help you with today?" I'd say, "Well, yeah, actually, I've got a whole list of ailments here. I've jotted them down. It's a bloody A3 sheet. I'm fucked. Where do we start?" But it doesn't work that way, and it's the same with dentists. I went in a while ago with a gum infection, and I asked the dentist if he could please just give my teeth a check-up to see if I needed any fillings, because I sometimes get quite sharp pains in my teeth as well. And he said, no. Because that's a whole other appointment. It seems that the majority of the health industry is primarily concerned with making money, not helping people. Do they not know that all paid jobs absorb and degrade the mind? To be fair though, the government could do a lot worse with their Department of Health than they do. I'll give them that. Sometimes I think that there's departments of government that are entirely unnecessary and just fueled by taxpayers' money for really little return. I was thinking of actually establishing my own government department. I was going to call it the GOPTSRATACRRH, or the group of people that sit around a table and concentrate really, really hard, which is probably what goes on in most government departments. You could just imagine them sitting there, silent, intense looks of concentration on their faces. Then the 5 o'clock bell goes and they all get up and go home. Do it again the next day. Oh, as long as it's not one of my 20 sick days, because I need them to use taxpayers' money to fund a holiday for my partner and me in Hawaii. It's pretty obvious who I'm referring to there, if you're familiar with New Zealand politics. I won't try and hide his identity. You could say that he got caught in the act. Or you could just say that he's a fat ball-head, he was an MP for the ACT Party and his name's Rodney Hyde. Would be easier for people like Grant, who probably didn't pick up on the cues. Just lastly, I'd like to take this opportunity to actually apologise to listeners for the lengthy period between episodes of Chris Drabble's stream of Subconsciousness. I'm aware that it has been a long time since episode 4. I put it down basically to lack of motivation on my part. I'm simply not the most motivated guy you'll ever meet. In fact, you probably won't ever meet me unless you organise where and when and what I should order off the snack menu. But like I said, there is still one more episode to come. So we will catch up then. Well, I mean, we won't catch up, you'll hear from me then. I feel that that phrase, catch up, is thrown around pretty loosely these days. When you meet someone for the first time and you get along okay, and then they say, "Hey, let's catch up for a coffee sometime." Well, what are we to catch up on? You only just met me. You don't know anything about me yet. So what is there that we could possibly catch up on? Lots. 20 minutes worth. I'll see you next time.